Hello and welcome to the Walk in Love podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we're going to talk about being part of a conspiracy.
That was good.
That actually made me nervous.
Then you were going to knock something?
I was going to miss it.
Oh.
I just smashed my hand in the wall. If you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing some of the best parts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us a part of your week. The Walk in Love podcast is a weekly conversation between Brooke and I about emotions, rhythms, marriage, parenting, and faith. It's a place where we laugh and sometimes cry as we try to find language to live a full life. Are you doing the subscription or am I?
You can do it.
It's not a subscription sponsor. Today's sponsor is the Spring Collection, which will be available in less than 2 weeks. By the time you're listening to this, our samples started arriving yesterday, and we've got some exciting new things in this one. Yeah. March 9th, 9 p.m. it goes live. Here's how you can get ready.
Pre-read that because we just had a conversation that was changing something.
I already changed it.
I was like, you were reading word for word. I'm so scared.
Are you ready to learn how
Tell me.
Listeners can get ready?
I'm ready. Tell me how to get ready.
Number one, you can listen to the podcast, which if you're already doing, great job.
Great job, everybody.
This is the place where you will get the best discount.
Yeah.
Number two, you can subscribe to our emails in case you're not on social that week or something is making you feel swirly about social media. Subscribe to the emails. Still good. Yep. Or listen to the podcast. You can subscribe to our Instagram to get 1 day early access, as well as a discount code. Or you can just follow along on Instagram, social, and just see all the things and get excited. But yeah, it's a collection that you guys voted on. You guys and gals, you people voted on. And so it's a lot of the best sellers over the years that are coming back, or like some things haven't been back in a long time. So we're super stoked. Great colors, great items. March 9th at 9 p.m. Put it in your calendar right now. Pull over to the side of the road. Click, click, click. Add it to your iCal.
March 9th at 9 p.m.
But I don't know.
Well, I guess March 8th, 9 p.m. if you subscribe.
Maybe I'll put a poll up on, I think I'll just do that today.
Wow.
Whether people listen while driving or not.
A lot of people say in the reviews and stuff that they listen while driving on a commute to work.
Okay, but I'm interested to see what percentage that is.
Or commuters just review leavers.
Maybe. I don't have a commute to work.
No.
It'd be a very short podcast from the kitchen after I make my latte to the office.
Welcome to the Walk in Love.
Thank you. All right.
Speaking of reviews.
I
have a review of the week. Are you ready, everybody? Transition. Title of the episode, or title of the review, sorry. Good words enter my ear holes weekly. 5 stars. That one got me. It. That's why I picked it.
You loved it.
The title was so good. Just start listening. The humor is there. The advice is rock solid, and they are absolutely genuine humans. Have loved following them for years and watching them evolve to who they are, but am more excited about where they are headed. Yes. Each week, it's something I look forward to because I know I will take something away to better myself and my family, and I will laugh out loud. Good podcast. Great people.
Good brain, great skull.
Words enter my ear holes weekly.
Thank you, Katie. If that is your real name. Yeah, it says it right there.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Katie.
If that is your real name.
I see some other notes here. Are we doing this Mount Rushmore or are we just doing
we're doing it. Speaking of commutes.
Okay.
Wow. Guys, this whole episode is going to tie together so well.
Yeah.
Like we planned it.
We do have a plan. I just got back from integrated.
Yeah.
So we have lots of plans. Too many plans. Okay.
Some butt clenching
Mount
plans.
Rushmore.
I thought of this one. Jobs you've had before.
You're just going to interrupt the soundbite?
Well, I thought I was my part. Okay.
People have just pulled over to the side of the road on their commute, shocked and chagrined.
This just in.
Commuters
super angry.
Brooke interrupts TJ during Mount Rushmore sound bit. What will happen? Staying tuned. Some people still know how business is done.
Blinker on. They're entering the road again.
Mount Rushmore, Rushmore of. Are you going to chime in?
No, take it away, Theodore.
Jobs you've done before that you do again. Caw-caw! I'm free.
Still free. America. Okay.
I thought you were going to say Merry Christmas for some reason.
Merry Christmas. No. What? First of all, can you think of 4 previous jobs you've had?
Yes.
That's a struggle for me.
I can't.
So it's not really, I guess, it's not really a ranking because the Mount Rushmore is typically not in order. But if somebody was like, you can't do anything that you do now, you can only fall back on jobs you've had before, which 4 would make that list?
Oh, man.
Right?
I have to pick 4?
Yeah.
Okay, honestly.
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I've had more than 4 other jobs.
Oh, I've had more than 4.
Okay.
But there's not very many that I'd enjoy doing again.
Tell me all about them.
Okay. Number 1, we could be wedding photographers again.
Yeah, that's on my list.
I could
That's the first thing
again.
I would put on my list so fast if I had to.
That one is less out of like enjoyment of the actual job and more of like an enjoyment of the paycheck of the job.
Right.
Like that's the reasoning for that one. It's not like, oh, I'd love to be a wedding photographer again.
Yeah, same. But I'm just like, again, if all of it was taken away and you and I had to go do a job.
Googling bridges and we needed to.
You and I could go do that. We have that skill set.
Yes.
Also on my list. Go team.
The second one would be like, honestly, like working in a warehouse. Like as far, not for the income, because that's not a very lucrative
it's just jobs
job
that you would do again because you can only pick from
there
what
is
you've
a
done.
camaraderie to warehouse work because you're kind of doing mundane stuff over and over again that you do get to chat with the people that you're doing it with and that
scare them.
Yeah. So like when I worked in the warehouse, I worked with my brother, John. Like there were people there, and so I enjoyed that job. I don't know if I'd enjoy every warehouse job, but
that's true.
There is something like satisfying about like, and even when we worked the Walk and Love warehouse. Like
everybody just kind of doing the same tasks, but all together.
There is something satisfying about like at the end of the day, there's a pile of packages and
ready
it's
to
like,
go.
there is my work.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yes.
So I put that one on there. Man, I can tell you jobs I wouldn't do it in. Telemarketer, I wouldn't do that again.
Demolition. Would you do that again?
No, but I think I would pick, I worked for like a outdoor like stucco company for one summer.
Yeah.
Like putting on like outdoor like stucco and like finishing the outside of like
buildings,
exteriors. And I would work for a company like that again, knowing that, hey, this is good training to like learn how to do construction.
Yeah.
Or demolition,
it's a really great skill to have.
Demolition was a more fun job in terms of like the activity and the process. But I don't walk away from a demolition job and think, oh, now I know how to like fix my own walls and do that kind of stuff. So I'd probably pick like a construction if I could do that. So that's 3.
That's 3.
Oh boy.
Radio Shack.
No, Circuit City.
Sorry.
Don't belittle my job at Circuit City by saying it was a job at Radio Shack. Oh gosh.
So Circuit City?
I guess so.
I'm dead serious. If you were a radio host.
Oh yeah, but I didn't get, that wasn't a job. I was a volunteer. I did host. I was a DJ on the college radio station. Yeah.
Have you had another 4th paying job?
No. Well, no, I worked in like a daycare for one day, and I was like, this is not.
Literally one day? I've never heard this.
One day. It was
the
Jim
name
Bree.
of it? Sunnyside? Oh.
Jim Bree, like the clothing brand. They used to, I don't know if they still do. They had daycares as well.
Yes.
And I worked for one day, and I was like,
I'm out.
I am out of here.
He gone.
Yeah. The telemarketing is pretty horrible. I painted for a summer, like painted the outdoors of a building.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. I don't know if I'd pick exterior painting. I'd probably pick interior painting, but I don't mind that. I don't know. What about you? That's tough.
It's so
That's tough because I haven't had a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Like I've had a lot of jobs within Walk and Love. Like
correct.
I've worked retail. We've done construction. I've been an accountant and a bookkeeper. Like
so if I had to default back to 4 jobs.
Doing the smile booth, like doing the photo booth at
the photo
events.
booth was a separate event. That was the thing.
I might pick that one.
That was fun. We got to go cool places.
Yes.
And see fun things. So I just saw lots of things in the photo booth.
Saw a lot of things in the photo booth.
Things were moving around when people were jumping. There was a lot of stuff happening at receptions. Anyway, moving on. Yes, I would shoot weddings.
Out of enjoyment?
Mine's maybe a little more enjoyment than yours, but I mean, I'm not doing them now.
Right.
Like, it's still, I'm not like, I just have to get back to it. But it is a nice, it's something I'm good at and it pays well. So it would go on my list. I've not. I think I've had less jobs than you.
1,000%.
I was a barista once, and it's the only job I ever got fired from. But I think I got fired because I kept asking to leave early to go do photography things. I hope it's not because I was actually bad at the literal job. I feel like I was okay at that part, so I guess maybe I'd put that on there. Then
I worked as a graphic designer for Wellspring as well.
Oh yeah, you did.
So, but I don't think
I worked for that screen printing company
as a graphic designer. So
okay,
so can I be a graphic designer, but not at the company that I was?
No, I think you have to be at the company.
I don't know if I'd pick that.
Yeah. So, well, then I wouldn't want to be a barista there either. Circuit City's out of business, man.
Can't go back.
Okay, this is a wishy-washy list.
Okay, it's fine. It's still good.
But I would...
Because if I could just pick graphic designer, then I'd...
But that's what you're saying. You would take the skill set of stucco and just choose construction. So I guess maybe it doesn't have to be for the same company.
So I would probably actually remove wedding photography and put graphic designer instead.
Okay. I would keep photography. I would put graphic designer because that's what I did at the screen printers.
Because I was in charge of emailing the brides and like all that communication. And so for me, that job was just like much more like mentally consuming in the weeds. Yeah. But graphic design is kind of like that too.
I know. Can you change this, but make it bigger and smaller at the same time? Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, that's a good start.
This was the completed project.
Done. This is the final time. Final. Save as. No, this is the real final. Save as. No, your files. This one is actually the real final.
Seriously, this is the final _copy. I'm like, oh, what the? No, I would.
No, for real. Computer desktop. This is the actual final. Send this one.
.jpeg. Are you sure you want to use .jpeg? Yes. I would be a photographer again. I would be a graphic designer. I have worked 3 different retail jobs.
Yeah.
I suppose I would pick one of those. I'd pick retail. I do like pretty stores. I could maybe do that part. And then I guess barista gets bumped down there. I haven't done a whole lot.
Yeah.
I did
dance or like
that's true,
gymnastics.
But I wasn't like paid well for that. It was like half and half.
Or you paid well to be a barista.
No, but I mean, like, I was still in high school. And so it was like, hey, help out. But also, it wasn't nothing. Yeah. I used to iron my dad's shirts when I was little. I got paid for that. Probably better than the gymnastics job.
Dry cleaner?
So maybe I would iron people's shirts.
Here's the interesting thing.
Sunny side ironing.
Why is it always sunny side from Toy Story 3?
Yeah.
Or the series should have ended. That's a strong feeling just kind of mixed in there. Here's a crazy thing to think about, especially for some of our younger audience members. Uh-oh. At any point when we were doing these jobs, we did not have cell phones.
Oh, I didn't have a cell phone until my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
They didn't even send me down with it. I went to school in a different state.
I got my cell phone sent to me in the mail.
Someone dropped it off. Someone was like driving further than my school, and she was like, "Oh, just send it with him, and he'll drop it off." And I was like, "Thanks."
How did they communicate that when and where they were going to drop it without a cell phone?
It was a green one.
Okay.
It slid open.
No, I didn't get my first cell phone at college. I got my updated cell. I went from the brick, the Nokia brick, to
that's not the real name.
No,
right?
but that's what kind of people refer to it as.
Okay.
To a flip phone. I got my flip phone in the mail at college. Big deal. 2.1 megapixel camera.
And that's when you had to be able to type really quickly, but just on the numbers.
Yeah.
So it was like, I just remember.
My sister Sam was so good at that.
Yeah.
She's
got so many skills.
But isn't that just interesting though? Like that, like if you go to a retail job, everyone's got their giant cell phone in their pocket in their skinny jeans.
Yes.
And like back in the day, you wouldn't have had that.
No. I had when I worked retail.
That could go a lot of ways. Weird pockets, weird skinny jeans, weird cell phone.
No, I must have been allowed to take my mom's cell phone into my job at the mall. Because even though it wasn't mine, I remember putting a flippy cell phone the razor.
The razor. Oh, I never got the razor.
Pink razor and then like shutting the locker and behind the in the warehouse.
That's a good Mount Rushmore.
So anyway.
So are we going to do these other segments? Or?
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, what I Googled. So let me just preface what I Googled, that I was around.
No, you don't need to preface. Oh, no, maybe you do.
That I was around 30 men for the last few days.
Okay.
And we were we were solving some of the world's problems. So I'm going to get into it. I'm just going to get into it because I think it's funny and some people might get upset with me. And I'm just going to, how do I do this?
I don't know.
Okay, history. Yep, here we go. And then we search Google.
And then you search Google. So should I go for a few?
Yeah.
Okay. How much caffeine is in 2 shots of espresso? I've Googled this many times in my life, but I keep trying to figure out if it's actually more than a cup of coffee. Spoiler alert. It's way more.
I just have 2. I'm just going to go through 2.
Where to stream Angry Birds?
Well, you started Googling
where can I stream Sonic?
Because Sam and Kyle were here. And you were worried that they were looking at their espresso as a cup of coffee. And they're like, I'm just going to have another one.
I'm just going to have another cup. Okay, but 2 shots of espresso, which our machine is set to make right now, is equivalent to 3 cups of coffee.
So if you're having...
So in the morning, if you're like, I have 2 or 3 cups...
You're having 1 latte.
You're having a latte.
Or 1, whatever.
But having multiple lattes...
means you're having like 6 cups of coffee.
Or 9. Or 12,
So you were worried about...
I was really worried about Kyle's heart.
Kyle doesn't listen to the podcast. So we can talk
Kyle's
about
fine.
it. Yeah.
He's fine.
He made it.
Did he? Yeah. So I was concerned. And then I needed to know information about local sushi. So I was Googling that. Turns out I had the name of the sushi restaurant wrong, which is why I couldn't find it. How old does a kid have to be to sit in the front seat on Hawaii? June is now old enough to sit in the front seat. She almost never does. She's only allowed to in the truck when I'm driving somewhere like very chill.
And when she does, though, it is
the best thing that's ever happened to her in her entire life. Yep. It's like she had 9 cups of coffee.
Yes.
And then was asked to sit in the front seat.
And it was Christmas morning.
It's the sweetest thing. Celsius to Fahrenheit. Must have had questions about that. 21 Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Need to know.
I just need to know.
Sometimes. Oh, no, that's because of this.
Oh, that's because of the monitor. It keeps getting changed and whatever. It's fine. Extreme close-ups of eyes. Okay, so if you've never, you being the listener, because you've seen them, right? I've showed them to you. If you've never looked at extreme close-ups of eyes.
Shot on like a, almost like a medical grade camera.
Yes, it looks like images that would be in like a National Geographic or something like that type of thing, not somebody with their iPhone. It's going to blow your mind on what you're actually looking at when you are looking at the color of someone's eye and the depth.
It will make you realize that you are hands down created.
Yeah, 1,000%.
You didn't come out of the primordial soup and turn into the person that you are.
Right. Followed up by how long to air fry frozen salmon? Because I forget every time.
Nice.
And you just want me to leave all yours to the end?
Yes, because mine have stories with them.
Best Alfredo sauce.
Any results?
It was good. Yeah. Remember, I made it and the girls loved it.
Nice.
Outdoor swings. I was on this whole thing about, do I get a swing that can withstand getting hit by the sprinkler or do I not? So many things were up.
So we got
poisonous jellyfish. Poisonous jellyfish.
Oh, that was me.
Poisonous jellyfish.
That was me on your
3 times. Longest tentacle jellyfish.
Yeah. We're talking jellyfish.
If my birthday is October 1986, is this you? Who old was I in February of, one of us was trying to figure out how old I was at a certain date.
Who old was
I? February. Oh, I was trying to figure out exactly how old I was. It was me. How old I was when June was born. Because I couldn't do the math. Who old was I? That's pretty good. I think that's, I'm like way back.
Okay. All right. So I've Googled quite a few things being at Integrated. Some of them are just like, I was Googling we were talking about Leviticus and in Leviticus, sojourners in the verse. So I was like, I wanted the actual definition. I had like my general definition in my mind. Same with the word necromancer, which means like magician or mage or something like that.
Wow.
Anyway, so there's some searches in here about the band Hanson. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
is this your hot? Is this what's going to make people upset? Hanson?
No. The next story will
I'm not
make
ready
people
for that.
upset. But honestly, I don't think the next story will make that many people upset, so I'm going to risk it.
If it's what I think it is, it's very funny and lighthearted.
So Hanson, I forget how we got talking about it, but the statement was, someone had mentioned them, and I was like, oh, I saw them one time in concert.
Yeah.
We saw them.
Yeah, we did.
Like, not in the 90s when Bop came out, but like,
no,
they never stopped making music. People think that they were a one-hit wonder, but they've made music their whole lives. And I was like, I just
listened to an interview. They have 16 albums.
I was like, they're actually pretty I said they're actually pretty talented. Each brother has been the lead singer of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else chimed in and was like, yeah, they're really talented. And Brad Ellis from Ellis Custom Creations was like, all right, guys, really talented. So he's got this hot take that Hanson is not really talented.
Ooh.
And I was like,
I'll fight you, Brad.
Yeah, and you should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Subscriber only content. Brad and I are going to fight.
Yes. And so if you're listening, so we have some crossover between the Ghost Runners and Walk in Love podcast. If you are one of those people, go to our YouTube page and comment on this episode and let us know that you're one of those crossover people. Also, totally side note, I'm getting totally distracted. The Ghost Runners podcast has a Facebook page where they're like talk about the podcast episodes, and it's just like this long, like people are commenting and sharing memes and all this stuff. We don't have something like that. But I also don't know how to log into my Facebook. And so
this is very real.
But like we've tried, like there's Discord, there's some other ones. So I guess what I want to know, and you can go to YouTube to comment on this episode. I would love like a community-based interaction place for butt clenchers.
Yeah.
And so I'm
not on Facebook, but I would be for something like that.
Okay, so maybe Facebook's the best. Maybe it's Discord. Maybe it's something else. But I want
a new app.
I want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to just like chime in. And if you need to create a Facebook page just for that, so be it. Like you can have just no profile picture. Like no worries here.
Yeah.
But Ghost Runners has that, and Brad's like, it's one of my favorite things to check. He's like, that's the only reason I get on Facebook. So if it's Facebook, just say it's Facebook. If you think something else like Discord, which is basically like just like a chat thing, we've used it before.
Okay.
It's like real popular in the gaming community, but it's got all the features. The only reason I tend to lean towards Discord is because I know I'm just going there for this,
and
I'm not going to
get of your aunt.
Yeah, I'm not going to get sucked in on my aunt's latest meme. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to.
Aunt.
So, Brad from Ghost Runners, like, oh, they're not extremely talented. So I am like, they can all play every instrument. And he's like, oh, that's every musician. That was his take. I was like, so you're telling me every band you could reorient them and they would sound just as good to release another album? Well, yeah, I mean, not just, I'm Brad Ellis. Let me make you a table. That's actually a really good Brad impression. That's his pitch.
That's his elevator pitch.
Let me make you a table
as the door is shut.
So I text Matthew Greiner.
Oh, okay.
Who is a musician friend of mine.
Yes.
From the band August Burns Red, a very heavy, very talented metal band.
Yes.
And I said,
he's like one of the best drummers in the world.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I texted
Solid point.
And I said, I'll just go to my text right now because it's not very, it's kind of, I said, I'm having a debate with friends. Could you guys switch instruments in ABR and still sound okay? No way. Ha ha ha. Dustin could, but that's about it.
Mm.
I said, would you say that a band that can do this is extremely talented? He said, yes, I would say, but not exclusively. Their music could be simple and not hard to play.
True.
So there is an element of
point,
that.
Matt.
Solid point. But I feel like I won that debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, did he ever realize they're still making music, and did he go listen to any of it?
I don't know. I'm going to text him 45 links to 45 different songs today. So
start a group chat.
Okay, so that was one. And then I just like started Googling like how old was Hanson when the
It's crazy. Well, they were just on Dadville, a 2-part series on Dadville, which I only listened to some of. I didn't get very far because my my commute to work obviously wasn't very far. Also known as Target pickup and back.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just fascinating. The numbers that they have, because their career started so young, like that they're still only like our age-ish, give or take, and the amount of things they've done and places they've performed and albums they have. And I can't remember the statistic.
And they have like a ton of kids.
But just, there's 15 kids between them.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Oh, geez. That's a lot of kids.
Oh, my.
That's a lot of kids, man.
That's a lot of trips to Costco. Okay. Oh, man. There's some other things like, look at this school. I'm not going to share that one.
You can tell me about that later. If you would like. I don't know if I want to know. Okay, keep going.
Okay. So that happened. I'm going back in time. That was the most recent Google search. I Google searched a ton of things on my trip, but some of it's like restaurants, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to tell you the main Google stories.
Okay.
So we got there, Ian and I and Brad all got there a night early,
right.
But integrated. So we got there on Saturday. Integrated doesn't start until Sunday night. So Saturday we stayed at a hotel. We woke up Saturday morning. The Austin Marathon was happening.
Oh, wow.
So we walked around, kind of watched people. Brad, because he's such like a Kansas City Midwestern guy, was like, hey, great job. Hey, great job. Hey, great job. Great job. Like, he cannot not talk to someone. Ian and I didn't say a single word to a stranger. Brad is talking to all of them. And so we
could have been talking to Hanson and he wouldn't even know.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. We decided, so then guys started arriving on their flights, but we don't start till 6. So we're like, hey, why don't we go? We went to this go-karting place last time. And so we went back again. It's like high level. It's like fast go-karts. Like they go like 30 miles an hour. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It is the most unorganized place ever run in the history of time and space. But
maybe that's your strong feelings.
That's a strong feeling. But it's like, we walked in there like, it's going to be 2 hours. And we're like, okay, well, like we had nothing to do.
It's like a 2-hour wait, like a restaurant.
And so we were like, okay, so like we put our names in, ended up being a 3-hour wait. But anyways, we decided
neither here nor there.
We're going to walk to Starbucks. There was a Starbucks nearby. We'll just sit, drink coffee, chat. There's new guys in the group.
Is that when I text you about what you might be doing with my new character?
Which is great.
So my new character. So again, I've shared this many times. TJ and I share our.
Because you actually texted me in the hotel first.
I did twice. We share our locations. Honestly, it's not out of like creeper checking. It's usually just out of like.
Can't get very far.
I know, that's true. He's on his commute to work. I see your dot moving. No, it's mostly right so I don't. I'm like, he's here somewhere. Mostly so I'm not like, are you on your way home yet? I can just see that you're on your way home from the gym. So my character for the week,
which I love,
was the wife who misreads her husband's location by proximity. So first you're in the hotel.
Yes.
But it doesn't on my little map. It doesn't tell me you're at the hotel. Yeah. It tells me the name of the restaurant inside the hotel, like at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which makes sense on a map. I get that. But so it looked like you were in
me, Brad, and Ian.
You, Brad, and Ian were in this cocktail speakeasy lounge. And so that was my joke. Like, are you guys out getting drinks? And I like played into it, And then the next day I see you're at a Starbucks, which is smashed right up location wise to a plastic surgery center. Yes. And so I'm like, you're either getting coffee or plastic surgery. I have a lot of questions either way, but that was my character for the week.
So we're waiting for our go-karting spot. It's 4 guys. We thought more guys were coming to Starbucks, but it'd be me, Brad, Ian, and this guy Zach, who's from Australia.
Okay.
So we're drinking our coffee, and I think I brought it up because I had seen this comedian's bit on the WNBA.
Okay.
And he was talking about how like there's this like he was talking about like he showed this clip of this WNBA player complaining that they don't get paid off of the profits for the WNBA. Well, the WNBA loses $10 to $12 million every year and has since its inception.
Right.
So the guy's like punchline, the comedian's punchline was like, so each of you owe $88,000 a year to play, which I found very funny.
Right.
Can women play sports? Yes. Please don't DM me. So I brought that story up, and that
organization is not run well, and like it does not make money.
Yeah, the WNBA has never made a profit
ever. Yeah,
ever. It's subsidized by the NBA, and if the NBA wants to subsidize it, so be it.
Yeah,
I don't go to NBA games. I don't go to WNBA games, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So we're talking about this, and Ian goes into like calculator mode because he's like super talented when it comes to the numbers of your business.
Yeah.
And if you want to improve your numbers and need a business coach, I would recommend Ian.
Yeah.
So DM me and I'll send you his info.
We'll give you book a flight to Maui.
Yeah.
We'll give you his address.
Yeah.
He won't mind at all.
Yeah, he'll just show up at his door.
Does he have a different full-time job? Yes.
Yes. But anyways, he'll be fine with it. So he's like, all right, well, $10 million. Okay, that's not that much money when you're thinking of an organization as big as something like the WNBA. And so he's like, how many teams? And so we start guessing how many teams are in the WNBA. Now I'm forgetting.
You told me like 12.
But it's a lot less than you think. I think it's shrinking.
Okay.
I think there's 12 teams. Hold on, let me see.
Google on here too. It's faster.
Yeah, that's true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 12 teams.
Okay.
So then Ian's like, okay, well, how many games do they have? And then he's like, oh, it's like 30 games or 36 games. Again, it's a very small season.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, then he's doing math on his calculator. We're sitting at Starbucks, and I'm like, it's all based off of a joke that I was telling. That I was like even retelling. And he's like, all right, well, like he basically comes to some number that's like only 900 more tickets per game.
If they could average 900 more tickets per game, they'd break even.
And
they
so
wouldn't
he
lose
thinks
that money.
that the reason it's still in business is because they're just on the edge. Like, how do we just sell 900 more tickets per game? You know, they're
close to their breakthrough point.
So
just believe,
yeah,
babe.
just believe. Maybe another 10 years and they'll make some money. Anyways, so Brad's like, well, how should we like? I think we could fix the WNBA. It's a strong take from Brad. We're like, let's hear it. And he's gonna tell this same story on Ghost Runners, and so
probably
yeah. So we're sitting there, we're like, well, the one thing they could do is lower the rims to 8 feet. Like, one of the best parts about the NBA is the dunks. Those are the highlights. Those are the best moments.
It's the photos you see.
Yeah, that's just like, it's such a huge part of the game.
Shows how little I know. I had no idea the rim height was the same.
Yeah, same. And some of the women can dunk.
Right.
But
what's the norm? Okay, don't laugh at me.
Don't laugh at me. What is a pallet?
Gross profit. No, what is a normal rim height?
10 feet.
So even to 9 feet, right?
Yeah, I don't think I could dunk on 9 feet, but I think I could dunk on 8 feet.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't tried in a long time.
7? Could it be 7 feet?
Could be.
What about 6 feet?
Yeah, that's a real possibility. 4 feet.
What if it's soccer?
What if we take that rim, make it a net, put it on the field?
And you kick the ball in? We have solved the WNBA. No, your guys' solution is way better. What if it's a hole in the ground? It's like golf with the net.
You get clubs. So 8 feet.
Okay, sure. Solution number one.
Solution number one, 8 feet. We have some dunks.
Okay.
So there's definitely just some more highlights. There's more eyeballs.
Okay.
You're in the Sports Center top 10.
Wow.
Like
the buzz.
The buzz.
It's
You're
happening.
getting more buzz with some dunks.
Okay.
You know, like, especially when one lady just dunks it over another lady. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about.
Futurist female. Okay.
Exactly. UFC female fighting is very popular. Mm-hmm. There is something, I think, I don't know, people want to see two girls fight. I don't, but I guess some people do. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so then we started talking about maybe some trampolines on the floor to add some real big energy to it. But eventually we decided trampolines not off the floor.
Okay.
Because Brad.
No longer on the table.
No longer on the table. Because Brad came out with the greatest rule in the history of fake WNBA.
Okay.
It's called the pluck rule, to which I instantly added, you mean the Chick-fil-A pluck of the night.
Yes.
Because
it's already sponsored.
It's already sponsored, so it pays for itself. So we're already making more money.
Because of Chick-fil-A.
We're already making more money because the rims are lower and they can dunk. Now we're making more money because the pluck is sponsored.
Okay.
And the pluck is...
The pluck of the night.
Pluck of the night is each team gets 2 players added onto their team that are plucked from the audience. So this does two...
To which I said, terrifying. Now I'm not going to a game.
Here's the thing. We've thought of you.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Guys that are going are like guys that peaked in high school. They're like, oh, I could make it in the WNBA.
Right.
And maybe they could hold their own, or maybe they're getting dunked on.
Yeah.
Either way, you got to highlight.
Hi, Becky. I'm here for it.
But you can buy a non-pluckable ticket.
That's
it costs a little more. So now, again, we're raising revenue.
I'll pay more.
But you are getting on every Sports Center top 10 with that. It could be a 90-year-old man. It could be a 6-year-old kid. They got to play, though. Mm-hmm. They got to play. There probably be like a amount of minutes per that they have to
be on the court.
So Chick-fil-A pluck of the night. Or Cane's could sponsor it. I don't know, Tyson Chicken. A lot of sponsors.
There's a lot of chicken out there.
A lot of KFC pluck of the night. So, yeah, I think we fixed it. So, I don't know who I need to write a letter to. Maybe I'll tweet at them.
Somebody call YouTube, see if they'll come down here.
So, if you're super offended that I'm mocking women's sports.
You're not, though.
You're
mocking the organization that has
lost $10 million for 10 years.
Because there are many women's sports who do not lose money, hemorrhage money like that. So
we fixed it. So that was my Googling. I Googled some other things, which I don't think I can share. So yeah, there it is. Let me see if there's anything else. I Googled Kansas City to Kahului flights because I'm trying to get Brad to come to. Brad and I also talked about, while on the subject of Brad Ellis from Ellis Custom Creations, we also talked about him and I starting a podcast together.
Okay.
About fatherhood and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm here for that.
The place that we were staying is called the In Cahoots. And so...
Just very clever.
Very clever.
In, I-N-N.
Yes. Cahoots.
In.
And so they have like one area that's like kind of like all their like, it's like a garage bay separated type of micro hotel.
Yeah.
And so as you open them up, you can rent out the whole place. And so they're all kind of themed a little bit.
Okay.
But once you open them all up, you kind of lose that sort of like, but one of the themes is like Western, like the couch is leather, like, but they have these bar stools that are saddles.
Okay.
So you like sit and you got the little ball there. And you're just
like literally a saddle.
Yes. And my only complaint is they don't spin full the way around.
Not a 360 swivel.
But they do spin quite a bit. And every now and then I go,
Obviously.
So Brad and I are sitting there. I haven't even told you this story. No. We're sitting there talking about maybe we should do a podcast together. I'm like, what we call it? I was like, how about the Pony Boys?
I know exactly what I'm getting if I listen to that podcast.
And then we landed on Horseboat, from The Office. But anyways.
That's funny. Although I would listen to that podcast.
Pony Boys or Horseboat?
Either. I would listen to you and Brad talking about fatherhood while being funny.
Well, it might happen.
That'd be very cool.
We talked about it. So that's what I Googled.
That's good.
How was your week?
My week was good. It really was. Like because Sam's family left. No, that's not at all what I meant. Sorry, Sam. You know that I love you.
Sam's behind on podcasts.
I know.
So
no, it was just that like you left literally less than 24 hours after they left.
Yes.
And so it was like suddenly we had an empty house. It was just me and the girls. And so it was.
They needed it.
And they needed it. They were so excited to play with their toys and they got along really well the whole time you were gone. And I did a combination of like resting, Sabbathing, cleaning things, washing sheets, just like kind of resetting the house, which I really enjoyed with just like no timeline pressure or anything. So yeah, it was really good. Went to Costco, went to Target. I read a book.
Amazing.
All sorts of stuff.
Wow.
How was yours?
I went to Integrated one night early and then stayed one extra day. So I was there from Saturday and got back yesterday, which was Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like it's my 4th year doing it.
Yeah.
And I was telling Brooke before, is like 4 years ago, we lived in Pennsylvania. It was pre-COVID. And
we had 2 kids.
We had 2 kids. And now 4 years later, we have 3 kids. Brooke's voice is back. We don't live in Pennsylvania anymore. We don't live in anywhere on the mainland anymore. And like, it's a nice rhythmic reminder of like progress being made in terms of like, and that's the goal of Integrated. It's like, we want to be better businessmen. We want to be better fathers, better husbands, better followers of Jesus.
Yeah.
And we want to integrate them all together.
Yeah.
And kind of be like counterculture to like common Western, individualistic, narcissistic
and
culture.
That's the beauty of it. Because for you, going to Integrated is almost like a tradition now.
Yes.
Like to call it something
100%.
else. And so that's the beauty of any tradition is that it marks this time of like, oh, this time last year and this time 2 years ago and this time.
Yep.
So you feel the progression of life.
And you're just like, you become friends with guys. And like, there are new guys in the group, which is great. Like, I like meeting them, but it's like, I'm pumped to see the guys I know that I've been in with at the beginning. Like, I'm excited to travel with Ian. I was really excited to hang out with Brad because we become like, I just met him last year at last Integrated and we're like buds.
Yeah.
Even though he's totally wrong about music and the talent of bands. And so, it was just like really that sort of like rhythmic energy was super good.
Yeah.
And then obviously like the teaching and the takeaways and just like the thoughts that go on are just like sometimes fire. Mixed with intimidation, mixed with like, no, this is why I'm here. Like, I don't want to live a normal Western culture, individualistic life. I want my family to be integrated.
Yeah.
And for a long time.
Yeah. But it's sort of like drinking out of a fire hose, right?
1,000%. Like
which is what workshop-y, mastermindy should be. Like, give it all right now, and then we're all going to go our ways and do our things.
And we often have to tell the new guys that like, hey, you're gonna go home. And you're going to tell your wives their whole life is about to change.
We're going to light it all on fire and start over.
And just don't do that.
Yeah.
Just go home and do one thing till the next meeting.
Start fresh. Don't start over.
But it was just like super encouraging. And I don't, honestly, like, I'm kind of torn whether we go through this because this is long.
It is long. You can switch
or if I just go through sort of like this massive realization in my life that happened.
You could do that. It has nothing to do with conspiracy then.
It doesn't.
Like you said at the beginning of this.
So we'll get into that next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Basically, because conspiracy has like a hot take type of word to it.
Yes.
Jeremy's first night was like, we all need to be a part of a conspiracy in the best way possible. Like we are like all those guys
current culture has hijacked the word conspiracy to mean not true.
Yes. Like the United States of America was a group of guys who conspired to make a great nation.
Right.
good things happen. Did bad things happen? Yes. Did good things happen?
Well, because now
absolutely.
Conspiracy is always with theory.
Yeah.
We're not talking about conspiracies. It's always like
you and I are conspiring
theory.
to create a family culture within our family unit. Like we are conspiring.
Yes.
And so that's the framework of like the men at Integrated are conspiring to do family differently, do family business and faith differently than what we're being taught like as commonplace in Western culture.
Right.
Correct?
Right. I was literally looking up conspire. It often does have a negative connotation.
Yes.
Typically to like harm somebody or do something, but we're not using it like that.
Okay. Right.
Like just meaning like we're all in it together to figure it out. And it's probably going to look different.
So I'll go into all this more like, so normally our normal like podcast rhythm is I come back and I just like read through my notes.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah.
And so what Brooke and I are going to do over the next few weeks is like go through it almost talk by talk and like share some of what was shared and like talk about what does it look like between us, like what was the language that was given, all that kind of stuff. But one of the talks was like, we need to purify our definition of fatherhood. And so like Jeremy actually threw some shade at Bluey.
I saw that. I saw that in the notes.
Bluey's dad is like a play friend or basically like a mother.
That he only shows up on screen in a mother figure, something like that.
In a motherly fashion. And that's honestly like, and one of the...
But that's not to say playing with your kids is motherly. No.
Like, but like we're turning fathers into mothers and we're turning daughters into sons. That's what's happening in culture.
Yeah.
Which like biblically is untrue and not good for us. So he's going through like, how do we become biblical fathers?
Right.
And so I'm going to breeze through these. We'll go through them in more detail a few weeks from now.
Okay.
But I to explain my sort of like
your aha
moment, I need to kind of go through this.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we do to be biblical fathers is training. We train our kids.
Yeah. Which we've talked about a little bit.
And so we'll go into all that. And then the second thing that we do, the father creates a culture of radical hospitality in our home, which is awesome. And that talk was like amazing. And it's like, and a lot of the guys were like, my wife doesn't, I don't throw feasts at my house because I know it'll stress my wife out. And it's like, well, that's your job as a father to make sure it doesn't stress her out.
Right.
Game changer.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about, I mean, I'm not even getting into all the notes, but like you think about the average, maybe marriage workshop or like women's getaway versus men's getaway. Like whose weekend is going to include a talk on hospitality? The ladies.
Yeah.
Like it's talked about all the time.
It's unbiblical. It's unbiblical.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Entirely? Or you're saying that it's not being talked about in the men's group as well?
No, almost entirely. Not that you shouldn't have a part in hospitality, but like it should like Abraham was hospitable, and then like it started with him as the father figure. Anyways, one of the best lines Jeremy said was like, Adam is the archetype for how to be a man. Abraham is the archetype for how to be a father and commune with God. Now, did Abraham get a lot of things wrong? Absolutely. But as far as what we can learn about, like he's the father figure archetype. Anyways, we'll get into all that.
Okay.
So it was like train your kids, hospitality. And then the third part, again, this was like, we're trying to differentiate
what was
between culture. Yeah. Purify our definition of fatherhood from what culture has told us to be to what the Bible tells us to be. And the third thing was Abraham had a plan for expansion. So we're going through all these, like Jeremy did a really good job this time of like, he'd give us like, 15 knockout punches and then be like, what do you guys think about that? And you're just like, oh gosh.
Open it up for discussion.
And then he'd go, like he did that with his first point, and then he'd go into his second point and then third point, et cetera. So like, it was nice to see like people jump in and like either say how they are doing that or like ask more clarifying questions and stuff like that. And so at the end, he goes, what does this sort of like purifying our definition of fatherhood make you feel? Like, how do you feel about that? Do you agree?
The
do you disagree?
Specifically or all of it?
No, the whole thing. And so I raised my hand and I was like, to be totally honest, like training my kids, do I always get it right? No, but it's definitely not something I haven't thought about. Like that isn't.
We've talked about it. It's not like what? And
we do it. We try to train our kids.
Yeah.
In lots of different ways. Like, and one of my examples, like the most recent way I'm trying to train my kids is by bringing them to Friday CrossFit so that I can train them to see people work super hard. Like that is purposely thought out and not just like, oh, let's just do this. Like, I want them to see, like, and even June today, she was like, she's coming tomorrow. And she's like, okay, before you fall on the floor in exhaustion, just give me a thumbs up so I know you're okay. Yeah. Which is so sweet. But like, I want her to see, like, concerned. Yeah. I want her to see people working,
especially physically hard,
as hard as they can, because I think that will teach her something.
Oh, it will.
And so training, do we have steps to take in training our kids? Absolutely. Will we always have steps to take in training our kids? Absolutely. No one does it perfectly, but like, I wasn't intimidated by that.
Right.
Father creates a culture of radical hospitality in our home. I was also not intimidated by that. Are we in the season of life for radical hospitality with young children? Probably not. And he kind of talked about that like, it's definitely not something that's easy, because a lot of those guys in that group have young children.
Right.
But he was saying it's gotten easier for me as my kids have aged with me because they have been able to
be part of it,
be part of the radical hospitality in our home. And we try to do that. The way that we try to do that is like, we let people stay here every time we leave. Like that's a form of radical hospitality.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome and like super good. And I was like, I have no problem with that either.
Yeah.
And then Abraham had a plan for expansion, and I feel my butt clench and I feel incapable. I have a lot of self-doubt and fear over my ability to expand. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think it's partially the way I was raised. I think it's partially just like my natural personality and tendencies. I think it's partially the way I get spiritually attacked.
Yeah.
And so I raised my hand. I said, honestly, I have no problem with the first one. Like, obviously we have work to do. Radical hospitality sounds awesome. Like, I'm all in.
I'm all in. Let's figure it out.
But expanding sounds super, like I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Like, and I had just given a talk right before Jeremy on Voice of the Heart, and like, how we need to like be honest and truthful about expressing our emotions. So I'm like,
break down the walls.
Yeah. I'm honestly afraid of that. And so we talked about that a little bit. And I think the reason I'm afraid is because I think like I have self-doubt. I think I'm incapable. And I don't think it was like, I love my dad. He's an incredible father, but my dad isn't the type of dad that's expanding his reach. He is like, the example I use, and I hope he's okay with me saying this. The example I use is like, he made Y2K shelves. He wants to buy all of his money in gold. He buried kerosene in the yard. Like, he's definitely more fearful of what might overtake his expansion than he is in like pushing back against that.
Yes.
And I think he would say that too. Probably. And so I've seen that my whole life. And so there's part of me that's like, and I tell my dad all the time, you are an incredible man who can do so much for the glory and has done so much, but he has a lot of self-doubt on his capabilities and his abilities.
Yes.
And so I've seen that, and I've kind of, again, our children are becoming who we are. So I'm becoming who my dad was.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Right.
And there was like this moment of like, I have not been modeled someone who's like expanded their reach, their influence, and not even just income.
Right.
But like they've taken all the skills and talents they've had and they've put in a plan for expansion.
A continued plan.
A continued plan for expansion.
I think there were seasons of it.
A lot of people just expand, but like my dad expanded, he had more kids. Those kids had kids. Like, he's a good patriarch for our family.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's been very planned, other than like, I specifically remember the season where we were planning to adopt. Like, that was an active plan of like, we're going to expand our family.
Right.
My dad never ran a business. And so for me, I think like, okay, I can have like, I've seen it in family in terms of expansion, but I've never seen it in terms of like business or assets, other than like you buy a home, that home gets a lot of value and you sell that home.
Right.
And so for me, it's super intimidating. And I was feeling that. I was being honest about that. And so a guy in the group, his name's Chad, he spoke up and he like was like, he basically was like, that's the devil saying you can't do that. And because
the devil doesn't speak French.
Nope. And he's like, and so he just like was like, you expanded here, because he's followed us for a while.
Yeah.
And he's a super successful guy. And he was like,
he got me a job. Maybe I put that back on the list when I worked for Michael Hyatt.
Yes.
That might go on my list. Sorry.
And he's like, you've expanded here. I've watched you expand here. I've watched you expand here. Watch you expand here.
Yeah.
And I believe that the Lord has more expansion for you, more than you can even think of. And I was like, I'll receive that. So I was like,
Google's how to receive
that. I was very encouraged by that statement. And so it's like, okay, I'm okay with the training. I'm okay with the hospitality. The expansion is the hard part. So I was like, that's super encouraging. I went over to him later and thanked him. And I was like, but I still don't think it's possible. Like, I want to receive that. I want to believe that that is true about who I am.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's possible. And again, I think there's a lot of factors in that. So then, like, the day goes on. We're talking about other things. We're doing hot seats. We're doing smaller groups, all this kind of stuff.
Hot seat.
And after, like, one of the sessions, we were going to go eat lunch. And so there's this great ramen place down the street from the Incoots. It's called, like, Dim Sum Ramen or something like that. Anyways, It's awesome. And so a lot of guys always go there. So Jeff and I were, like, conspiring to leave quickly.
Right. So that you could get a table
Get there
right away.
first so we can get our ramen right away before like 18 guys show up. Jeff and I also have similar feelings of like the whole group being like, well, I don't know, where do you want to go? I don't know, where you want to go? And I'm just like, let's break up in smaller groups and just go other places. You know, but no one wants to say that. So we just sneak out like almost right out. Like we don't even say goodbye to anybody. We just like walk down to the ramen place at full speed, fully expecting other people to join us.
Yes.
Us just being there first.
Yeah.
So no one comes. So it's just
a nice, quaint
just
ramen
nice
date.
Little ramen date with Jeff and I. And so I'm kind of explaining all the stuff I just explained to you. And I said, but the epiphany that I had at lunchtime, which with Jeff's questions and sort of his like, he's really good at that.
Yeah.
Was if we lived in Pennsylvania in our cheap small house in Penn Street, we would be more than fine financially. We would be very comfortable, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have any inclination to expand.
No.
I would have no inclination to expand what we provide from a business standpoint, what we're trying to build from a business standpoint. I don't think we'd want to expand with more kids. I don't think we'd want to expand like in terms of hospitality. Like we wouldn't be looking to be radically hospitable in that season, in that environment. And so and
I will add that that was not solely specific to our house. There was a lot of other layers to our life that you are condensing into.
But I'm having this realization
living there
that the Lord called on your heart to move us to Maui. And it has forced my hand based on the sheer cost of living here. To step into a plan of expansion.
Yes.
And so I'm sitting there, again, Integrated started 4 years ago.
For the glory of God.
For the glory of God, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, that's a given, but I'm just stating it that like.
But Integrated started 4 years ago, lived in a small, tiny house in Penn Street, had honestly weren't very worried financially.
Right.
And so like we would have just done things the same over and over and over again, never exploring courses, never exploring events, never exploring speaking engagements, never exploring
other things that might be on the table that make me go, ugh.
And so I just like had this moment of realization, like, and people are like, why did God have you move? And I think there's going to be a long list of reasons by the time we reach the end of our lives that we look back and say, oh man, why didn't he? You know?
Yeah.
But in that ramen place on a date, one-on-one date with Jeff Bethke, I realized that like the Lord has so many layers to what he's calling you to do. And like when you realize one, again, I have goosebumps just thinking about it, it will just wreck you. Like that on that day, on that Sabbath day, when you sat in that chair in the corner of our house and you said, I think we should look at real estate in Maui, that the Lord was already planning. I'm going to force your hand. I'm going to put you in a position where you have to do what I have called you to do. Yeah. Like, and that might be to have a plan for expansion. That might be to bring in radical hospitality to your home. That might be to open a church or plant a church. Like, I don't know what the reason is. It's not always the same reason, but for me, it has been, I'm going to force your hand to plan your expansion because, and again, this is me receiving what Chad said about me, receiving what Jeff said about me. And again, I think there's a part of it that sounds too arrogant to even say on a podcast. Right. But I have given you too much ability, TJ Mousetis, to have you sit and be comfortable. Yes. So I'm going to force you into discomfort so that you use that ability for my glory to expand.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened in Integrated.
So nice. Cool.
So I'm sharing this at the end and I'm crying because it is an overwhelming feeling to feel the love of the Father, like, because if my kids were not using their full capabilities and were just being bums on a log or even just being comfortable, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to push you. Like the bike riding. It's a great example.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to have a bike because it's going to expand your freedom. It's going to take what you know and same with reading.
Blow your mind.
It's going to blow your
You're
mind.
going to sit in the front seat and be like, I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah. And so I am going to push you to ride that bike.
Yeah.
I'm going to take off those training wheels. I'm going to take off those pedals. I'm going to lightly hold the seat. I'm going to do all the things. I'm
going to lie to you, tell you I'm holding the seat and I'm really not.
I'm going to do all those things because you need to be put in a place of discomfort to learn this about yourself. And when I realized all of that, and I'm still realizing all of that, the move to Maui feels just incredible. Like it just feels incredible to see the love of the Father played out in your own personal life.
Yeah.
And such a because I fully admit that I would doubt my ability to expand. Yes. Doubt my ability to use all my gifts to be able to live in a place like this or like afford living on this island or whatever. But by needing to do that, we've now opened up things and added new things that I think are going to glorify God even more.
Yes.
And it's not for there's just a default of we just have a bigger bills. So we need to pay for those bigger bills. But I think there's I think the Lord planned it.
Oh, 100%.
And so it's just
yeah.
And so when we did takeaways, that's what I shared. And I was just I was wrecked and I still am wrecked by it.
Yeah. I mean, I've said to you many times over the last month that I feel more excitement, more clarity, more motivation and ambition because of the clarity to run towards the next many years of our business. Than I have felt in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that, and I know, I don't know, but if I think, would I be having these realizations, would be having these conversations, all these things, a year ago, or I should say, it's not all about the move, but it was about the move. It was the big change that brought to the surface some of these other things. And I'm just I don't think we'd be in the same place.
And here's another crazy thought is and this might make it more what does that look like in terms of how has it affected people? We I don't know if the podcast would still be going. There are things.
Oh, there's a very good chance I would have given up. Not given up,
but just been oh yeah, enough. That was fine. Whatever. And but because we've continued the podcast to sort of share this story, we had a live event so that we could help pay for, some of the things that we need to pay for.
Yeah.
Which then the first time ever I'm meeting people who listen to the podcast, which then is re-exciting my energy and vigor for the podcast.
Yes.
And it's I don't know if all that exists without the move. I don't know if all that exists in a place of comfort. And again, I know I'm talking a lot about financially, but there's discomfort here outside of that. We didn't know a lot of people, we had to have a baby on our own.
Absolutely.
And so I just I guess my encouragement is that you might be doing something that you have no idea why you're doing it other than the Lord has called you to it. And you want to practice that obedience that brings that peace.
Yeah.
And then 2 years down the line, you might be weeping as you see some of the pieces fall into place.
The dots were connected.
The dots being connected. And so be obedient.
Yes.
And be obedient.
Wait for the connecting dots.
but not even just be obedient, but be obedient even though it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I knew going into Hawaii, I was it's the most expensive state in the United States.
Yeah.
Your money's worth less here.
Right.
And I was just that's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, and so to realize that and see all that. And again, I feel I need to put all these disclaimers that I'm not just talking about making more money or
right.
It's different. God said, be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. And so we as believers, that should be our process in life.
Yeah.
We should be fruitful, we should multiply, and we should have dominion. We should be outposts for the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that more, but it was just such a powerful weekend for me in terms of like that was my main takeaway. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go home and start Sabbath, which is like, that was my first takeaway. And it was like, oh, we're going to start training, or like, oh, we're going to do radical hospitality. Like it was just like, man, just seeing the Lord, the Father's love over years. And it's like, it'll make you weep. It'll make you tear up. It'll just make you feel like, well, I want more of that. So what else do you want me to do?
Right.
Like what? So.
Yeah, it was so good. That's good, because it was good to do your big takeaway, and then we can get into all the different specific things.
But it was awesome. If you're like, I don't make, we always joke that like, there's a bunch of guys from Nashville who've kind of signed up under one guy, and then Brad and Ian are under me, and then Brad had a guy sign up.
Oh, you're joking that it's like a pyramid.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't make, like, it's not like that.
No,
it's just like
literally not. It's more of just like a referral.
And we just make that joke all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like a Christian male business owner with kids, and you want something that like will make you think radically different about your lives, which is interesting. Like some guys come from the family team realm, and they like have all the language, and they know all the jargon. It doesn't feel quite as extreme. But so like the guy that Brad signed up, he was on the phone with him talking about a podcast sponsorship opportunity, and like kind of knew the guy was a believer based on the way he runs his company, and like, but like they start talking, and Brad's explaining what he's got to. They're trying to plan another meeting to talk about the details, and he's like, "Well, I'm going away. I'm going to Austin." He's like, "Oh, what are you going to Austin for?" And so that guy signed up.
I love it.
And he had no, like, he's never seen a family team thing. No context
of what he was coming into.
And so we're sitting at Chipotle talking about whether Hanson is good or not. And
obviously,
and we're at Chipotle because Ian's never had it.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
And Brad has to pay for Chipotle because we bet that one guy would wear a vest tomorrow, and Brad thought he wouldn't, and he did. So this is all the fun we're having. And this guy is just like, how?
I've never thought about this.
What? Like, what does the word Shabbat mean?
You
know, like that. Like, and this guy's like, I've been a pastor before. Like, the church is letting us down.
Yes.
In terms of this type of stuff, because he was like, I've led worship. I've been involved in ministry for 15 years, and my mind is being blown in these 2 days.
Yeah.
And so like, if you find yourself in that scenario where like I think it's family teams. Like if you message them on Instagram, they'll send you the link to the group.
Yeah.
Because it's radically transformed my life. Yeah. And so like Jeff and Jeremy, I know you guys, I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but if you do, I'm going to send you this clip. Jeff and Jeremy, you have radically transformed my family's life, and you are continuing to show me that there's another way to do family that more reflects what the Bible says about family.
Yeah.
And realizing through Integrated that God loves me enough to get me to out of my comfort zone for his glory is an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
So
go team. I love it.
Go team. We fixed the WNBA, and we
Hanson is still good.
Hanson is still good, and we've connected
some
big dots in my life. Yeah. And so and it was like funny, like
that feels, I hate to say it just feels good, because that sounds like I'm demeaning it, but like it does though, right? Like when you have these big clarity moments where you're like,
it's like
it all makes sense.
You remember the lion and the bear.
Focus,
like you now have the energy to push, like, because last year was difficult for us.
Right.
And it wouldn't have been difficult if we lived in our house in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And so there's this element of like, when you get in that season and the Lord teaches you something through that season, you now have the like energy and excitement to get through the next season. One thing that I'll share again is like, everyone was at like, we're always asking like, how's business? Like, what's going on in your business? Like, these are the guys that you've known and throughout the years and you're catching up with. So Chad asked me, a couple guys asked me, and I was like, well, we're kind of rebranding. They're like, you're changing the name. And I'm like, no, it's just like, we're kind of like we're
expanding.
So Chad goes, you're not rebranding, you're expanding. And I was like, oh gosh, Lord Jesus, help me in the best way possible. So it was awesome. I'm super grateful.
Take the wheel.
Yeah. And just encouragement to you that like, you may not see what the Lord is doing, but be aware and be ready to see, so that when it connects, you notice and you take like it impacts you.
Yeah.
Because I think another thing we do is like, we aren't aware, we aren't we aren't living heart forward. And so we don't see those connections.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't ashamed to say, hey, I'm afraid of that one.
Right.
Because I have all the doors and windows open on my heart.
Easy breezy.
And so I was like, I'm afraid of this one. And through that conversation led to this sort of radical realization that is going to lead to the next one. So
I love it.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you for making us a part of your week. Shop the collection on March 9th.
At 9
p.m. Eastern.
Sorry, I thought you were going to keep going.
from shop.walkandlove.com.
Go to Google.
Go to... And... Okay, I love you. Bye.